Please welcome to the stage a guy that used to live here, and I always like to say he takes the rut out of the plain truth. Let's give it up for Sam. It's pretty gross, McPheeters!
Words. So am I telling the other stories? Is that the I'm just going? Like, this is some weird fucking nightmare? All right. Just in here behind the curtain. I get a sip of water. The other story I'm telling is the Kentucky story, which I told in Kentucky because it was weird to be in Kentucky. He knows this story because he lived the story. We briefly workshopped this over the phone also. The Kentucky story has to do with my old band from from the 90s, the decade known as the 1990s, Men's Recovery Project. We were doing our first tour in 1996, and the deal with that is that in the previous band I had been in, a certain person who's in this room did all the fucking work. He did all the driving and did all the booking, and I was kind of the child of the band, and I just felt bad about that. I felt like I didn't step up as an adult, and really, I mean, I guess I carried a few things, but my duties were what? Dramatics? I don't even know. So I was like, all right, this is band 2. I'm going to step up. I will book the tour. And I hadn't really done it. Booking a tour back then, was very hard. We had Princess phones. The global computer network didn't really exist. And so the thing is, I booked the first show of this first tour at a sports bar in Lexington, Kentucky. What I don't have now is a diary of the thought process. How did I contact the sports bar? How did I didn't look them up on Alta Vista or something. Like, how did I know to contact them? And then what was the call like? I'm in this band. You don't know it. You wouldn't like it, but you don't know this band. May we play your sports bar in the sprawling metropolis of Lexington, Kentucky? Lexington? Yep. In Lexington, Kentucky. And then, of course, I don't have my shit together. I'm not organized, so I'm up all night, the night before tour, just that thing where it's you act as if what you're doing is really serious because you're stressed out, but it's not. It's a Men's Recovery Project tour, so why the stress? Why the lack of sleep? And yet, those things happen, and then the sun rises and it's horrific, and then we're just driving, and the light is just like trails. I remember it being an 8-hour drive. Google Maps says an hour and a half. I don't know what the deal with that is. So we're driving. We get there. We get to the sports bar as the sun is setting, and it's the real deal. It's a sports bar. And there's a couple bros with the baseball hats backwards, and one of them's the bouncer, and he's a big fella. And so we lug our stuff, and already we're getting me mostly just getting mad, and really the anger is self-directed, mad at the choices I've made, mad at the path that I'm on in life. You can't. It's way too early in the tour for those thoughts. So really, you're mad at everyone else. You're mad at the world. You're mad at your bandmates. You're mad at the people who manufactured the van. You're mad at all the residents of Lexington, Kentucky. You're just angry. And by the time we load in the first band, I don't remember the first band. I remember the second band. The first band I don't. They've been lost to the ages. But by that point, we put on the tight little sweaters that were for children that we all thought were hilarious. And you can't, when you're wearing that, it doesn't help the anger at all. What it does prevent is your arms you can't really get your arms so much in like that. So we're all just kind of standing around like this. And I'm getting angrier and angrier, and Neil's getting angrier. And I realized what the mental state is called. It's a mental state called, I've had it. I've had it. I've fucking had it. And I've had it with this bar, and I've had it with the band, because the second band was a Rick Springfield cover band. Except that they did the canon. They did all of his works, and then they kept going, like into fan fiction. Like they just went on and on. And we had 3 fans there to see us, and they kept chanting NPR, which made it worse. It made the state of I've had it that much more acute, into a state of like super I've had it. And so by the time it's like 1:30 in the morning, I don't know what plays at sports bars, like Highlight or something on the TV, And so we get up on the stage, and I realize, just as the first song started, like there's a table right in front, and there's a couple. There's another like big bro there and his small blonde date. They both have beers, and I think I'm gonna jump into that table. Not like this is a good idea. This will make things better. Not that. More, oh no. Oh, no, I'm going into that table. Like when you're in a skid, like, I'm going to hit that guardrail. Oh, no, like, no force, like a power, like free will is gone from the equation. And sure enough, the song starts, and I get up, and this, in my memory, a good-looking swan dive into the table. Then time gets really, really slow. Time just slows down, and the beer is just, and the people are kind of flying up, and I'm thinking, no, this isn't me. When I was a little boy, I pictured myself as a man. I don't want to do this to these people. And I see them, and it goes on and on. At some point I register during this fall that lasts months. Like I've hurt myself very badly. I can detect there's an injury, like the warning light, like injury to body has occurred. But I don't know what it is. And the drinks are still flying. And then as the floor is coming up, I'm thinking, I'm going to get beat up by this man. I've ruined his date. He's probably a wonderful fucking guy from Kentucky. He worked an honest day for an honest wage, and now he came out to a place to see some Rick Springfield songs, and I've destroyed that. And then I hit the ground, everything's flying, and indeed, I feel the hands on my tiny child sweater, hoisting me up. And it's getting back to real time, but still a little slow. And I have time to register. It's not the bro's hands at all. These are so much larger. And it's the bouncer. And the bouncer is just a mountain of a man. He hoists me up. I'm kind of like, I have my arms on his arms. And I guess my feet are sort of like kind of touching the ground, but really I'm supporting myself. But the thing is, when you touch another human being, there's give, like human skin's elastic. This is more like when you lean against a car. There's no give. That's how strong and big he is. And he also has a backwards baseball cap. And he's roaring in my face, what the fuck are you doing? And I want to say, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. This isn't me. I'm better than this, than what you just witnessed. I will buy them new drinks. I'll pay for their dry cleaning. I'm not someone who causes chaos. I'm the opposite of that. And all I can get out of all those thoughts, I just say, I pick things up. And he's dragging me to the front of my, I pick things up. I pick things up. Like I have Tourette's, I'm just repeating this. And then we get to the door, and he goes, get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna kick your ass if you come back. And he throws me through the doors. And then I'm outside. I literally have been ejected from the club during the first song of the first show of the first tour of this band, and I'm outside and I can hear the band still playing, but it's much quieter now, and the stars are out. It's a nice night in Kentucky, and I'm on the street. I'm still in my sweater. I'm like, what do I do with my life now? Like, obviously the tour's over. I don't know how to proceed at this point. And I take one step, and then my leg buckles, and I realized I'd really screwed I found out later I'd torn the cartilage, which, surprise, jumped through a table. That's more or less what my doctor said. So I'm limping down the street, not in the good way, not like House or Snake Plissken, limping in the shitty way of like a guy who just ate it hard on his entire life, the whole thing. I see the van down the street. I don't even make it to the van. I just sit down at the curb, and I'm not like bawling, but there's some, I'm misty. I'm getting a little tear. That one tear comes down. And I'm just like, this is it. This is that moment. The drug addicts and alcoholics, like rock fucking bottom. I've hit it right now here in Kentucky. And I'm looking up at the sky, like, how do I change my ways? If someone had come by, or like, hey, I got a cult, I'd be like, all right, let's go, let's do it. That's how vulnerable I was. And then I hear, hey! And I turn around, I look up, and it's the bouncer. He's just chugging down the street at me, and his arms don't touch his side, but not because he's wearing a little sweater. He's just so muscle-bound. It's like in Tom and Jerry, when the big bulldog, I've done it before, but like the bottom doesn't swing, and like coming down the street at me. And so my first instinct is like, just run, start a new life here in Kentucky or elsewhere. You probably got $20 in your wallet, hop a train, something. And then my leg gives out again. And so then it's all right, plan B, articulate the I pick things up philosophy. So, use your words so beautifully that maybe he'll get it, he'll understand in the tiniest moment before he just cubes me into just a thing of flesh. And so I'm about to say something, and he goes, I'm not going to do the accent. I had no fucking idea that you were the lead singer of the band. Will you please come in and finish the set? And I'm like, oh, okay. And I could have used his assistance walking down the street, and now he gives me his assistance, and we kind of limp back. We get into the club, and it's the same song. It's the Why We Were Lazy. It's still playing. The table's been put upright. There's fresh drinks. The couple are still there. It's as if nothing fucking happened. And I go up, and I finish the song, and we finish the set, and we get paid, and then we continue the rest of the tour. I have a cane or something, a crutch, but like the moment is never acknowledged. So I don't know what the point of this story is either, but John and I have been workshopping this one too. This is John's ending. I'm about to repeat to all of you. Is that it's as if I am Jimmy Stewart in It's a Wonderful Life. I'm standing on the bridge. I've been shown everything that will happen. I've been shown the whole other universe. And then I'm all, fuck it, I'm just going to jump. It's easier. And so that's, okay. That's done. That's out of the way. So now I'm going to read from this wonderful, wonderful, goddamn book that I have right here. There's so many things I want to say about this book. Just the blankness.
Did you use Richmond in it at all?
The only thing from Richmond I used, I explained at the first reading, there's a part fairly early on where a steaming pot of coffee flies through the air. And I know what that looks like and what happens when it breaks, because when I lived at 514 West Clay, David Grant, is David Grant here yet? No. David Grant showed up, and then the deal was when David Grant and Neil Burke from Men's Recovery Project were in the same room, something had to get broke. That was the rule. Rules are rules. You can't bend the rules, otherwise chaos happens. And Neil called. He's like, shit, I just made this pot of coffee, and now I have to throw it in the wall. And it did the full thing, and it was just beautiful. So that's in there. I don't think there's anything else. Anything you recognized? Oh, no. There is one other thing. Yeah, the lyrics. Which, is he here? All right, yeah, I'm very scared. There are some lyrics that were going to be for a band that I was informed I would be in with my employer called Incinerator, which was to be a rap rock band. And he was very excited about it. I would use the word love is what I had for this man. I loved this man. He also was maybe a little bit the inspiration behind the main character of this book, who is a very, very angry individual. I'm a little scared if he shows up tonight. These lyrics that he had, which made it into the book, were, I'm so full of hate, rage, and distortion, my mama should have had an abortion. And I thought, those are some good lyrics, sir. Maybe we should do Incinerator sometime. So yeah, those are the two things, I think, and that's it. All right, so I'm going to read tonight. This book revolves around the character of Trang Yang. He is the angriest man in the world. He had a neurological injury. He's incapable of any emotion, but just pure rage. He is a one-dimensional character, and I'm very upfront about that. I'm not going to be reading his chapters tonight. I'm going to be reading some chapters of his employee, who has fallen, is the only person who Trang Yang likes and almost trusts, a position that I was placed in here and in another job I had with a boss who had some anger issues. So I'm going to be reading tonight these chapters. I think there's 4 of them. Meaning that's, 20 minutes? I think it's always good. I didn't do this at the reading, that the author tells you, like, the time length, so it's not 9 hours later, and you're like, oh, the babysitter's gone. How do I get out of this? Also, when I'm reading, I'm looking, I haven't memorized this, so I'm looking down at the page, and so if you leave, I'm not going to judge you or anything, but you need to buy this book. That's very important. That's how I'm funding my way through all this. God, I had so many things in my head, like, I'm going to talk about Richmond for hours. I don't even remember what I was going to say. You know, I went through I kept a diary when I lived here, and I went through it for a couple nights a few months ago. I'm like, I'm going to get, like, my top 10 list of crazy shit from Richmond. And all the entries were like, man stops me on street, threatens to stab me, or Tuesday, found myself crying in front of that same diner again. Like, it wasn't funny or anything, you know? Like, the best would be like, oh, the city's really changed, and or I've changed, and that's not funny or anything. So I didn't do that, and I get points for doing that. All right, so this is chapter 13. Bo Boxer is the character I'm going to be reading his chapters. Bo is the employee of Trang Yang. This picks up after an incident where let me go back a bit. Bo is a former child star. He can't hold down any jobs because the paparazzi always finds him and makes those jobs untenable. However, he has found that when he starts working at a Chevron in Los Angeles, that his new boss, Trang Yang, defends him from the paparazzi by beating them with their own cameras. This takes place in the aftermath of that. Chapter 13, The Bros. Dude, he transformed into a war machine. Bo Boxer was in a bar off Melrose Avenue in West Hollywood explaining the morning's events to his best friend, Davis Shoup. Shoup was 2 years his senior, a fleshy black guy with pencil-thin dreads, fringe leather jacket, fringe leather boots, an impressive collection of tight Motorhead shirts, usually worn one over another to great effect, and a broad, friendly face that melted, when drunk, into a jolly moon of pure pleasure. He was a fixture of Hollywood nightlife, and he very much looked the part. "You just got a career, man," Davis said. "I just got a career, straight up," Bo said, swigging his St. Pauli girl. "Employee for life. Any boss who can take out 2 camera crews at once." He paused, unsure how to express the depths of his sudden loyalty to his new employer. "He messed those guys up," Davis offered, not actually having witnessed the carnage. "He messed their shit up." "He performed some life-o-suction, dude," Davis said. "My new boss rules. To Chevron." They clinked beers in a toast to the world's 4th largest oil company. "About time you got a good job," Davis said. "I can't have my meal ticket all not working." This was an old joke between the two men. Davis had always been very good about paying for his own drinks and meals. Bo wouldn't have been able to cover him anyway. After a weighty pause in their conversation, Bo said, "It's been a while since I had a good job." By this he meant any job where the paparazzi hadn't eventually hounded him off. He'd worked at 2 Staples office supply stores, an independent stereo store, a mattress factory, 4 different restaurants, and a Rite Aid pharmacy. No job had lasted more than a few months. Inevitably, photographers, cameras, and fans would render his position untenable. And yet, even though it had been 12 years since his TV show went off the air and almost a decade since his last movie, a box office H-bomb starring himself and Jim Belushi as a father-son stock car racing team, Bo still thought of himself as an actor, an artist. "But what do you expect, man?" Bo said, finishing off his long-necked St. Pauli girl. "Society doesn't respect the arts." Chapter 14, The Arts. Actually, Davis understood, the problem was that this civilization respected the arts too much. There were too many bands, too many venues, too much competition. In his 15 years of gigging, Shoup had witnessed the inexorable tightening of every resource available to him as a semi-professional musician. In all forums, on stage, online, even the public surfaces where bands taped up their concert flyers, space grew scarcer every year. Davis had played bass in almost a dozen local groups, but he was known around town as 1/4 of Bitch in Heat, a hard-charging outfit that referenced 3 decades of the most profoundly kick-ass American hard rock, while not actually sounding like any one particular group. Despite their ferocious chops, it had been a long slog up the food chain, clawing over the throng of 2-bit posers and 2-bit promoters, and the entire bottom-feeding echelon of the music industry that festered unseen. An endless scab on the bottom of the ocean is how Davis had once heard it described at a party. Bitch in Heat had been landing good-paying shows at the Viper Room and the Whiskey and the Donkey Pit, and were on the verge of serious record label interests when their singer Mitch bolted in the dead of night with their manager's girlfriend. That was 3 years ago. Without the magnet of a successful band behind him, Shoup had garnered less and less play with the ladies. He was 30 pounds overweight, with bumpy skin and the unhandsome face of a sidekick. Bo Boxer wasn't Davis's meal ticket, but he was very much Davis's sex ticket, effortlessly lavishing him with a preposterous overflow of shameless female admirers. The two men had never acknowledged the basic reality of their situation, but without Bo, Davis would be celibate. Bitch in Heat's guitarist and drummer, twin brothers named Jack and Jake, had agreed to a slow and methodical hunt for the perfect singer. They'd all expected a loss of momentum in this search, but as 1 year turned into 2 and then 3, they needed to come up with something spectacular to justify their absence. Shoup had pushed hard to audition Bo Boxer. Bo had the looks, the charisma, and, as proven by one shocking audition, the pipes to pull it off. What he didn't have yet was the commitment. Bitch in Heat needed Bo. They needed a mega comeback. It was up to Shoup to close the sale. And Shoup had grown tired of waiting, tired of wallowing around the foothills of success, tired of the economics of having to convince other musicians to do things for deferred pay over and over and over again. With Bo Boxer leading the revamped BIH, a gorgeous figurehead on the prow of the only profitable venture in Shoup's life, there would be no stopping them. This would be the hardest Davis Shoup had ever fought for anything in his life. Chapter 58, The Marf Men. Shoup found Boxer at the bar. His needlessly capitalized text had read, "Urgent, found band name." As part of the bargaining process, Davis and Jake and Jack had all agreed to let Bo name the band's new incarnation. This was a weighty concession for all three men. Jake had argued passionately for keeping Bitch in Heat in a half-hour monologue that had linked together brand loyalty, artistic continuity, and corporate responsibility. Ultimately, it had come down to a vote, and Boxer's potential assets at a frontman had won the day. Taking the stage again was an exhilarating possibility. And yet, approaching his potential lead singer now, Davis felt something like dread. Bo met him beaming. "Check it." He handed over a worn trade paperback, flopped open to a particular page. Davis saw that it was the battered Shakespeare play that Bo had been hauling around for as long as they'd known each other, and which Boxer took many opportunities to browse in public as ostentatiously as possible. On this page, a passage had been circled in red. "Great men oft die by vile Bezonians, a Roman soldier and bandito slave." Unease fluttered Shoup's stomach anew. Bandito slaves? Bo looked astonished and snatched the book back. "Vile Bezonians, that's it, bro! I found our new band name!" "The Vile Bezonians," Shoup repeated slowly, making himself smile and lifting a hand to the bartender. After he'd ordered a beer and sat on the stool, he took another moment to craft a measured response. "So, is the Marfman off the table now?" Davis was referring to another in-joke. The two had long made sport of identifying Marfmen, which was Bo's word for people suffering from Marfan syndrome, a genetic disorder of the connective tissue. People with Marfans tend to be tall, gangly sorts, with long faces, arms, and fingers. Shoup's hero, Joey Ramone, had been a Marfman, as was long-limbed actor Vincent Schiavelli, whom Bo had acted alongside when he was 3 in an episode of television's Knots Landing. "It was a joke," Bo asserted with a slight whine. "Marfman is a band name for, like, some comedy lounge act from Sacramento or something." "I'm just worried," Davis sighed, accepting his beer, smiling again to diffuse this potentially volatile situation. "What if people don't understand what the name means? But don't you see? That's what makes it great. That's it." They sat drinking for a minute. Davis had been in other bands with celebrities, Ed Norton and briefly Kevin Spacey, and he knew the pitfalls of working with Hollywood types. He had to make an executive decision on behalf of all of Bitch and Heat, a band whose legacy now stood in great peril. Finally, he said, "Is this what it'll take to get you to commit?" Bo smiled and raised his beer in a slightly forced toast. "Do this and I'm your man. I'm in." Davis withheld a clink. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you completely set on this, and 1 being you completely open to other ideas, where would you rank this band name? Bo dropped his smile. 12. Thank you very much, folks. I'm Sam McPheeters. The book is The Rumor Roll, and it's just been a real blast being here in Richmond, Virginia tonight.
Thank you, Mr. McPheeters. Let's give it up for Mr. Sam McPheeters. And Mr. Sean Whaley, Mr. Dave, I'm Grant. I'd like to remind everybody there's a skull you can feed at the bottom of the stairs. That would greatly help with the folks that had to travel great distances to come here this evening to entertain you. And Sam will be signing books downstairs. And what? He has also art prints, so please check those out. We also have the fun pack. And that's not a competition, folks. But Sam needs money. Thanks a lot for coming out. Have a good evening.